We are live on Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. Welcome to Sunday Night Live.
Andrew, are we good on YouTube? Yep, cool. Awesome.
Why can't
Take it away, Brendan.
Background on here? I don't want everybody to see my messy house.
There should be a button you can push says stop video down at the bottom of your browser. Look for that, Jacquelyn. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. We're glad you could join us for one more, our last Sunday Night Live before Election Day. So this is a big one. We're getting into the home stretch here. Everyone is very tired from running the marathon over here at Humanity First Movement, but we are so excited to run through that ribbon and see what kind of victories we can pull off. We're so excited for our candidates that we've been working hard for. And we have here in the room with us, Jacquelyn McMiller, and we're so glad that we have the opportunity to ask her some questions and get connected with her campaign. So welcome, Jacquelyn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And we're just going to move right in here to introduce Humanity First Movement to some of the newbies here. So the Humanity First Movement is the network that evolved out of the Yang 2020 volunteer organizers. A lot of us were, real grassroots leaders during the Yang 2020 campaign, the most scrappy, most successful campaign of this election cycle, I like to think. And after Andrew Yang suspended, he said the Yang Gang wasn't going anywhere. So we got to work in creating this organization that could really unlock the potential of the Yang Gang around the country and get some amazing candidates, Humanity First candidates elected that could pass our policies that we care so much about, like universal basic income, into law. So we're working with Humanity Forward to define and grow the movement and grow the community. And we aim to harness and convert the passion of our members into something sustainable that can drive us to grow through 2024 and beyond. We're in it for the long haul, everyone. So if that sounds intriguing to you, you're in the right place. So what we will do as soon as you get involved with the Humanity First Movement is we'll connect you with folks in your state and local area that are actively organizing where you are. We'll teach you the ropes. We'll get you connected with all the right people. And whatever type of talents you bring to the table, we have a place for you. We have a communications department where you can work on social media. We've got more of a policy type department where people are working on policies that we can champion later on. We've got more of the community building department where we're keeping people connected. So whatever you like to do, whatever talents you have, we have something for you to do to make a difference. And we'll also match you with candidates who inspire you so that you can help them win their races. And I can't forget to mention that we love to watch movies together. There's a book club. We like to get even further informed as activists, and we love to hang out. So that community is really important to us in the Humanity First Movement. So the vision of the Humanity First Movement is a future where a data-driven government prioritizes intrinsic human value and quality of life. Our mission is to amplify the voice of the people, to put integrity and humanity first. We champion policies that value human well-being over profit and tackle economic inequity at its roots, and create opportunities for communities to thrive. We engage elected officials, advance candidates, and support community leaders by galvanizing a broad coalition and mobilizing a grassroots movement. And for our newcomers, every Sunday Night Live, we like to just show our Humanity First values. This is what brings us all together. We have people from the Green Party here. We have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have independents, we have people who were never interested in politics, all getting together in this movement. And what really brings us together is our beliefs in these values. So that is, we put humanity first. We believe in integrity and transparency, a mentality of abundance, grace and forgiveness. We're not left or right, but we're forward. And last but not least, we believe that we need to make America think harder. And we love numbers. We love getting into the policy details. And, we think we have a lot to bring to our political discourse by really focusing on the math, but also not leaving the compassion behind. So we'd love for you to get involved. Check out hfmovement.org, where you'll be able to see our Humanity First movement values a little closer. All right, so we have some upcoming events. This is the last stretch here. We're all sprinting to the end. There's still a lot that you can do to make an impact for our candidates. Here we've highlighted the 4 campaigns other than Jacquelyn McMiller's campaign that you can get involved in, that they have events ready to go. So check out these websites for Nate McMurray in New York, Dr. Al Gross in Alaska, Kasim Rashid in Virginia. Here's a bunch of links to all of our different meetings. You can also link to these slides over here. We have a link there, and you can find all these links on the slideshow. Okay, I'd like to give another big welcome to Jacquelyn McMiller, who is running in Fort Myers in Florida. She's gonna tell us a little bit about her campaign, her background, and their plan to win. So, and then we'll get into some questions, but welcome, Jacquelyn. We'd love to, if you could just introduce yourself, and then we'll, as soon as you're ready, we'll get these slides going, and you can lead us in the discussion.
Will do. Thank you, Brendan. And thank you all for inviting me. I had an opportunity to speak with Andrew just recently and received his endorsement. And I can tell you right now that Humanity Forward, it is one of my favorite philosophies in focusing on the people. We're going back and we're focusing on the people rather than the politics. And I am not a politician. I am a grandmother. I'm a mother of 3, grandmother of 5, and I've owned my own business as a CEO of my own business for 16 and a half years. But I've also been a social worker. The last 10 years, I've been a social worker and working in the state of Florida as a trainer and training social services and social workers, and really touching people from a grassroots effort and from a grassroots level. So I have been in the homes of some of the most economically challenged families, and also in some of the most richest homes. And they all look for the same basic needs. And those basic needs meaning being able to put a roof over their heads, being able to pay for their own bills and pay for those bills on time, to be able to take care of their children and have a future, a positive future for their children, but also just being able to put food on the table. And this is one of the things that is the basic needs of all the people, and this is what I want to really focus on, and bringing back that ability to have that foundation in each one of the homes that we will be dealing with in the city of Fort Myers. This city is the most segregated city, has been identified as one of the most segregated cities south of the Mason-Dixon line. So I knew when I decided to run for mayor that I was going to be the underdog starting out. However, having ran my own business and being a woman and hitting that glass ceiling, but also being a Black woman, is not only glass, it's plexiglass. So it's even tougher to break through. And I've always been a fighter. You tell me something I cannot do, then that's what I'm going to focus on showing you that I can achieve. So this is an attitude that I've had pretty much all of my life. And one of the things that I see here in the city of Fort Myers is that need for basic income, the need to be able to provide just for the basic things that every single family, every single parent, mother wants to be able to provide for their families as well as their children. But at this point, it's almost impossible. 17% of our residents here live at or below the poverty line. And Fort Myers is beautiful. And as you can tell here, we're surrounded by water and we're building and we're growing, but only one side of the city is actually enjoying that growth and enjoying the paradise that you see right now. On the other side of the city, there's a lot of desolation. A lot of people have given up because of the fact that even the city council has admitted that we're not focusing on that side of the city, that we're not taking care of, and that they've admittedly have forgotten about. So Fort Myers is a beautiful place. The beaches are gorgeous. It has some of the most, sought after beaches in the area and around the world. And it's constantly growing, but we need to keep our brains here. We have so much talent here, but for them to be able to even pay off their student loans or to be able to, build a home and a foundation here, they're unable to do that. So they leave and they go off, they build their careers, and then sometimes they come back and many times they do not. So we want to keep the talent that we have here. We have a university here, FGCU, and it's blossoming. We have a lot of talent here. And again, and I encourage everyone to just stay. And that's what I'm trying to do. Find a way to make sure that we have the jobs available, the industries available, and stop focusing specifically on building homes, single family homes. We need to focus on multifamily homes where we can have many families that are able to live in the city, but also be able to work within the city as well. So, but again, I'm here. This is my first time running. I am dedicated to thinking about the people, and it's just been my focus, and it will always be my focus, because small businesses, our retail shops, our food servers, our healthcare workers, these are the people, all of our small businesses like this, these are the people that actually is the heart and the epicenter of such a blossoming city as we have. And I have to tell you, I look to invest back into that and give them a reason to stay, rather than just bringing in development, bringing in high rises, and we're pushing everyone out of the city, but we want people to work within the city. So it's costing them more just to actually be able to work within the city. So I want to enjoy it. I want my grandchildren to enjoy it, but I want all families to enjoy what we have here. But we have to start building it now so we can ensure that there's that generational wealth and that generational opportunity to enjoy what Florida has to offer. So I thank you guys so much for for inviting me here. I look forward to this all week, actually. I've been out campaigning, canvassing, knocking on doors. People are so excited about this whole campaign. And myself that's running, I have been totally embraced. Some of the naysayers have been out there, but I'm not listening to them. I'm focusing on the people that are there, like Andrew and the Yang Gang, and making this happen for the city, as well as for the state of Florida.
Oh, that was fantastic to cover all those subjects. It looks like a beautiful city. I would love to visit. I haven't been down there, but you're giving me some ideas. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and with you covered some of your campaign priorities here. We're going to get into that with our question and answer session.
Sure.
I just wanted to kick that off, if I could. well, if you have any other comments about your campaign plans or anything, I want to give you an opportunity for that, but I have a question for you after.
I would love to. Now that you have it up on the screen, these are some of my major campaign priorities, but not just for my campaign. This is for myself personally. And it became part of my campaign because what's important to me as a person should be important to me as a figure that's standing for the city of Fort Myers. So definitely criminal justice reform. Our city, our Fort Myers Police Department has been under investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. There's been an independent study that has identified the corruption within the culture of the department. And there's a vast difference as to the number of people that are arrested or targeted. Myself, I have been a part of that. I have been targeted as well. And this is just something within the police department. There's no longer any trust. And for us to, for there to be any protection and safety, the community has to trust the police department, and one bad apple can spoil the entire group of a wonderful set of people. And I believe in the law. I believe in what the law enforcement does. And but they have to believe in the people that they serve as well. There should be that mutual respect. So I developed a policy, the fair approach to policing, that's funding accurate and impartial results. We need to ensure that we have accurate and impartial results. What happened to me has happened to so many other people. However, many of them have had to spend years in prison. And later on, they're found to be not guilty or not have committed the crime in the first place. And much of that is because either, there's a bias, implicit bias already there, but also, do they have the proper training to really understand how to go about investigating? And I'm an expert. I've been deemed an expert in investigations by the 20th Judicial Circuit, as well as the state of Florida. So I know I have an expertise specifically in this. So I know it can be done. It's just as to whether or not that we're going to focus on it and make it a priority within the police department, as well as implementing this universal basic income. I would love to do that. Andrew actually told me to hold off because I haven't won mayor yet, but I'm claiming it already. I think it's something that every home, every household needs to have. What makes a strong house? You have to have a strong foundation. And this universal basic income is going to provide that strong foundation of a guaranteed income where parents no longer have to worry about how their rent is going to be paid. Right now, half of the citizens in the city of Fort Myers pay over 50% of their income in rent or mortgage. And that means that they really don't have a whole lot left over, and they're just working to pay bills. And you're only surviving in that way. You're not living. So we need to provide that basic income, universal basic income, to provide for that affordable housing. We need to start getting people building their credit, building that cycle of achievement. That way we build a cycle, that generational wealth. And our environment, that is my number one, one of my number one things for me personally. We live in a beautiful, beautiful area. The waterways must be protected. And we must do everything and anything it takes to ensure our waterways are protected from developers, from those people who do not care about the waterways. We have to make sure that it is protected. Our environment has a one mayor in 1948. And she lost it after a recount, and they insisted on a recount. So 1948, she was only in the chair for 8 months. And after that, there has been no other females that have actually made it past the primaries. So not only is this historic from a female standpoint, but it is also historic from the fact that I am a woman of color and a proud woman of color that has grown up here in the city of Fort Myers and is dedicated to what this city has to provide. We can do so much better than what we are now. And I'm looking forward to bringing that change to Fort Myers. So Fort Myers is a Democratic city. Yes, I love this because we are a minority majority city. Now, if we look at it from a countywide standpoint, it is Republican. But within the city, we outnumber Republicans almost 2-1. So that is wonderful. We had in August, the primary, I won, there's 6 wards. I won 3 of those particular wards, and pretty much hands down. And all we need to do is focus on maintaining those wards, growing and increasing the number of votes within those particular wards, 1, 2, and 3. And also increasing the number through wards 4, 5, and 6. I have a great number of followers within 4, 5, and 6, but we're focusing on wards 1, 2, and 3. If those 3 wards come out strong, we have a sure win in the city of Fort Myers. So these are all of the precincts. And if you'll take a look at the precincts and the 2020, for 2020 Dems and Republicans, we outnumber them by, in precinct 7, we have 59.15%. So if you look at these numbers, all we need to do is focus on increasing those particular numbers in wards in precincts that are a little bit lower, like precincts 46, 47, and 48. Specifically 36 as well. So these are some of the ones that we really are focused on. We have been working hard on ensuring that we knock on doors. We're doing a lot of canvassing to just really increase the vote. Terry Rizzo just came down today, and really happy to see her. And she came and we pitched off a very wonderful canvassing effort in the precincts, and all of the precincts where these numbers may be a little bit low. So, but if you'll notice, these numbers are very, very close with regards to precincts 36, 46, 47, and 48. So those are the ones that we have been focusing on, as well as precinct 20, I think it's 26, precinct 10. So we're focused on bringing those up, and they have been working very, very, very well. We have increased the vote and documented it, and we're also curing a lot of votes as well. So this has been an ongoing process, and we're working every day. We need phone bankers, texters, any of you guys that are willing to, text and phone bank. We need all of the volunteers that we can get to do that. But we are working on turning this area blue, and we're planning on flipping Florida blue. So it's a work in progress, but I know we can do it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And do you want to speak a little bit about the phases of the campaign, or should we move into questions?
Well, we can look at this. One of the things we are building and we're recruiting, we've been recruiting a lot of volunteers. We had more volunteers in wards 1, 2, and 3 than we ever have in any race thus far. So not only that, we're building that volunteer base, but also identifying those leaders within that volunteer base and those leaders within the community was really, really, truly a key. because as I told you, in this area, especially within the city, many people had become complacent, a little distrustful of leadership, which is absolutely understandable. So how do we persuade these voters to actually now is worth getting out and voting? I have been working with the Biden campaign, and anytime that there's been anything that we needed to bring focus on, I have been the face of the Biden Harris campaign to get out there. So many of they see the presidential race, but they really don't understand the importance of the local races. And that's those down ballot races that we're running right now. So we're making sure that people understand that working with the Biden campaign and pushing out and getting out these people and having that face-to-face contact. My phone number, my personal cell phone number that you may have heard a few seconds ago, is on all of my literature. That shows the transparency. And I never even thought about it being transparent. It was just natural to me. If someone really wants to ask a question, here's my phone number. It's on my website. It's on all of my literature. So it's there for people to just ask, call and say, hey, what are you going to do about this? And I give them information because knowledge is power. And that's one of the things that I've really been pushing. And I'll go back to Andrew Yang. When I first met or heard of him, it was during the presidential debate. And I wondered, who was this crazy man talking about $1,000 a month? I was like, oh my God, And when he mentioned it and I kept hearing it, and I'm like, well, let me go in. I need to get some information about this. And I went and I started doing my research. And it is a phenomenal idea. And I've been reading about the Magnolia project that's been happening, and the one that in Atlanta that's taken off, and some of the other areas. And it gives people hope, but it also gives people something that they know that they can depend on, where they don't have to stress, and it decreases the stress in a household. So we're going back to providing information for people and ensuring that all of those undecided voters, if they have any questions, we can answer those questions. And I've been able to knock on those doors and answer those questions as well. So then we had this get out the vote. My nephew plays for Kansas City, and we did a video. We have this is a football town, and he played for the Buffalo Bills. He plays for Kansas City right now. And we've been working with the kids, getting the kids out, because we want to cultivate the need to be involved in what happens in their lives, from policies, from politics and everything. So we've been working with a lot of young kids, some of them even to the age of 10 years old. And how do we do that? We got my nephew, he was willing to do a video to really get out the vote, kind of explain the ballot, that works. And just those final days here of getting out the vote, knocking on doors, making that voter contact, ensuring that we're curing the vote for anyone, and just trying to make it as impactful as possible. I've been on the go this morning since 6:45. And I started this program called Lose the Weight, Gain the Vote. So we are even doing that as well. So it's been fun, it's been challenging, but it has been a wonderful way to meet the people and actually learn from a grassroots level of what their concerns are. What are their main, what are some of the things that keeps them up at night? And that's important, not just important as a politician, but as a leader, and understanding what is it that you can actually put on the top to be able to address, to make sure that our people are taken care of. And that's it. So I'm open.
Hey, Jacqueline, I just got to congratulate you for that presentation and covering so many things that the Humanity First movement and the Yang Gang cares about so strongly. It is a very impressive background and experience that you bring to the table. And I just loved how you focused on showing the math and having a strategy that has clear phases, that capacity building stage. I think that's so critical to candidates.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I hope we see, we have some amazing candidates and campaigns that we're working with, but I hope we can see more campaigns that look like yours
Well,
down the
thank
road.
you.
You're really setting the
Thank
standard
you.
there.
I didn't do it all on my own. I've had a wonderful, wonderful team. I have been surrounded by some of the most giving and dedicated people, and that's what it really is. And we were actually having a conversation earlier today about how do we cultivate this, and it just doesn't stop at the end of the voting. We need to keep this process going and get as many young people that are involved. I met so many first-time voters. It was incredible, and I was so proud of them that they're coming out and they're voting and they want to have their voice heard. So that's what means so much to me.
Oh, absolutely. We got to bring young people into politics. It's the only way I think we're going to save our political system. And we're going to get to some other questions here in just a little bit. So hold up real quick. Um, I just wanted to say thank you for studying universal basic income. We believe it holds so much promise to create a human-centered economy, and it just makes it doesn't solve all problems, but it makes all the other problems easier to solve when we put people first. And so I was really glad to see that. My question, when I was I've done some missionary work overseas, and I've seen how people have lived in other countries. A lot of multifamily houses there. When I came back to the States and I went to college, I found out pretty quickly I wanted to live, in a multiple family home, and there was local laws that just prevented that from happening. And I was, we don't hear about that too much. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what kind of changes specifically you would do to make housing more affordable, just generally, and help us create multifamily housing that is better for a lot of communities where that's just regarded as normal.
Absolutely. One of the things that we're looking at is a housing trust fund. And much of that could be funded by excise taxes, taxing on transfer of property of $1 million or more. There's a few ways that we can do that. But also just focusing on trying to get people jobs, where they can actually afford, and those jobs where it's well-paying jobs. So going back to the basics, when I grew up, many people were, it wasn't about college. You had a very good trade, and those trades paid very, very, very well. So not everyone is built to go to college. And plus if you go to college for social services, if you'll know it, you'll spend $60,000 and $70,000, sometimes $80,000 in college student loan debts, and then you're making maybe $40,000 a year. So that makes it very, very difficult, so it's very challenging. But also doing, where we can actually make the process move smoother with regards to the permitting as well. There's a way to do it. We've looked at those possibilities and some of the things that we can actually put forth to make that happen. And also a lot of the rezoning. That makes a huge difference as well. So there's a few things that we're looking at right now. We're wanting to make sure, though, we can provide the multifamily housing, but we want to make sure that people are able to make sure that they can afford it. And also doing, our rent goes up. The rent here is about 7 to 10% a year. So trying to make it where the rent is actually the rent stabilization, where it goes up and it freezes at least 2 to 3% per year. Because if it's going up that high every year, our income must be appropriate as well, at least comparable. And that's not happening. And that's going to protect a lot of the workers and the renters from a lot of the landlord, the slumlords as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the multi-pronged approach there. It sounds like you got a long list of ideas, so really happy to see that. We're going to move right ahead on to a question by Ethan over here.
Alrighty, so yeah, it's nice to meet you. I'm actually in the Kansas City metro area myself, so
Oh,
this
you
is kind of
are?
an interesting dynamic. I've actually been to Fort Myers. It's a beautiful place multiple times. It's like my second home almost. So I can almost relate to both situations, and it just is incredible to see just like what you're doing, and I just want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Ethan.
Yeah, you're welcome. So regarding like just housing development and everything, I've been noticing there's like a large problem going on right now with just like housing prices, mortgages and rent, and specifically like African American and Hispanic communities not being able to pay rent, especially. Kansas City's notorious for having a district, well, an area along Troost Avenue, which has just routinely separated the southern Kansas City from like the north and Johnson County, Kansas, where I live. And just the poverty there is kind of just honestly depressing having to look at that. And I've not really been to the side that I think you're referring to in Fort Myers, but I can attest that it's a similar situation. I've seen it, and it's something that we need to fix. So I wanted to ask,
like it.
yeah, I wanted to ask you a few questions regarding like ways to combat poverty that you haven't already mentioned, such as like a healthcare plan, and other ways that you could like implement a universal basic income and other policies that would just help promote wealth equity and just having everybody get their fair share and be able to have a equal opportunity in this beautiful economy that we need to promote.
Well, and thank you so much for that question, because I was a single mom and I raised 3 children. While when I graduated with my first degree, I could not find a job here. And I really didn't understand at the time. I was quite naive, and realized that a little bit later on, several years later, as to the reason why. And it was because of my race. There were my first degree was in legal studies as well as stenography. And even though I graduated at the top of my class, I still could not find a job right here in the city where I trained. I went to school and was unable to still find a position. So I actually had to find a position outside, and it was an hour away. So I drove an hour one way to Naples, which is south of Fort Myers, every day. And so 2 hours was in a part of my daily routine in commuting. I did that for 16 and a half years. And that built character. But even then, before I was hired in Naples, I found out that my boss felt the need to ask the judges if it would be okay that they hired a woman of color. So this was not too long ago. This was probably during the time that many of you were born. This was back in the 80s, and that really, it just really hits home, because we think that we've come so far, but we really haven't, because people still see color rather than ability. So even down to, as far as the city of Fort Myers is concerned, I have lived on both sides of the city. This is basically like a tale of 2 cities. There is basically the haves and the have-nots. I grew up in Dunbar, and I didn't know that Dunbar was a bad place until I heard it on the news that they said that it was a bad place. I grew up with both my parents. a loving, very loving family and, neighborhood. And, but as time went on and I became an adult, I raised my children in a gated community, Gateway, which is on the other side of the city. So I've been able to see both sides. And as I said, I've realized that we want the same basic needs. Sometimes we just don't have the ability to attain it. So what my intention is to make it attainable. That is with that, and trust me, I understand that universal basic income is not the end all be all, but it gives people hope and it gives people an opportunity to lessen the stress in their household. This lessens the stress for the children. The children can now go to school without being under stress, or they can go to school with breakfast and be able to eat. If anyone has ever had ever had to go to school and think that they could actually learn, on an empty stomach, or stressing because your parents are fighting over the bills at home, and we're putting our children in, or allowing our children to live in this type of stressful situation. So they're bound to have more barriers and they're bound to have more struggles. So that the universal basic income is first. The next one is training and providing that training, but also going back and making sure that that training, doing a QA process to make sure that it is accomplishing what our expectations are to accomplish. And also going back and asking those parents or those people that are in the training, what is it that we can do better? What is it that you need to help you do better? And help those who really want to focus on getting out of poverty. But the main thing is, being able to provide that multifamily housing, being able to ensure that we build housing that not only is affordable, but also attainable, because we can't forget about the teachers. There are teachers, there are, our first responders that are making 40, sometimes 50, barely $50,000 a year. Those are the ones that fall between the cracks. Giving incentives to developers to be able to provide homes for them at a discounted rate, but also incentives. Right now, the developers have no reason to build affordable housing. It's not, I mean, this is a business. I was a business owner, so I understand the ins and out of business. Right now, if they build a single family home, a $300,000 single family home, they have to pay approximately $8,500 for impact fees. If they build a multifamily home, they have to pay approximately $6,500 to $8,500 per unit. So it is not conducive for them they have no incentive to build. They can turn around and sell a $300,000 home quickly and make a better turnover, return on their investment than multifamily. So we need to address that. Waive those impact fees to give them a reason to be able to build those affordable housing. And that's just the start. So we need to give those developers a reason to come in. And we also have the CRAs, the community redevelopment agencies, and that's another way that we can have funds for building more for affordable housing. I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah, that definitely did. I also have a follow-up. With schooling and education, like helping out in that sector. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Okay, I think I missed the first part of your question.
Yeah, could you ask that again?
Okay, yeah. I must have blocked out here. Let me put that aside here. So I overheard you say the word teacher, and it just immediately draw me to public schooling and just working along with like the Board of Education, because public schooling systems have notoriously been kind of a bit off sometimes depending on the community. And I want to get your answer on like what would you do to cooperate with the board, and just see like as a mayor what would you do to kind of just like interact with that field. as much as potentially you could as possible?
I came from a public school education. I know how lacking it was. Although I did enjoy my time at Cypress Lake and Dunbar Middle School, in Orange River is in elementary school, but we need to work more with the school board. My hands are tied pretty much with regards to, what happens. However, I do have a voice, and we need to make sure that there's that open communication. The Lee County, the school board is under the guise of Lee County rather than the city. But as with any municipality, we must be able to have those conversations. We must be able to say that we have a seat at the table, at least, to have these conversations and get more, be more impactful, because this is a village, and it's going to take a village not only to raise a child, but also to educate our children. And any municipality must have a seat at the table. And that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. It was very insightful. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethan. And we're going to go to Ed Lee for the next question. And Ethan, you got a freebie there, but let's everyone else, let's keep it to one question, just so we can get through everything in good time. Ed, I think you. There you go. Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. So
Hi,
look,
Ed.
I'm a big fan. I'm glad that you were kind of advanced. I'm sorry I don't get to ask more than one question, but I'll just say this right now. So the thing is, let's
Thank
talk
you.
about the affordable, right? Let's talk about the affordable housing, because the thing is that if
sorely lacking in many areas, especially in rural and semi-rural areas. There's
Mhm.
none. What do you think about that? And would you need to do a study on that? What research could I maybe help you with? Because uncovering hidden data is actually my forte. So that's why I'm
Really?
asking this question. Oh, yes. If you tell me, Jacquelyn, go dig, I need info on X, Y, and Z from this slice of time, I will come back with an entire 10 graveyards full of data.
I love it.
She's not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
I love it. I love it because this is how we come up with new and innovative ways of doing things. Obviously, the old way is not working.
Right.
We're growing, and I would love to be able to do that. I did read something, and my brain is kind of fried right now, but I did read something about incentivizing um, the reuse of different products and trying to find, but I can't remember the details, but it was something very similar to what you're talking about, and it could actually start a new industry here as well. So that would be wonderful. I got to go back and read it because I've absorbed so much information and so much new ideas about doing things. But this is innovation at its best. It really, really is, and being able to do that and seek out those new ways of doing things. But yes, the with the homes, one of the things that we really need to focus on, and that's one of my policies as well, is refurbishing a lot of those homes, those existing homes. Here we have what they call cement block homes, and you have to bulldoze those down. They're there. Many of these homes have withstood some of the worst hurricanes, and they're still there. So we have the structure. We have most of the everything that we need. All we need to do is go back and reinvest in those, build them up, fix them up, and be able to provide homes for people who need them as well. So that's part of my policy, as well as building new ones. We have a lot of homes that are there that people are not utilizing. And we're actually in a deficit of about 34,000 homes right now. This city is sorely in need of homes, but it's also healthcare. I've been feeding the homeless for over 10 years. My family and I, we're Southern people. So when we cook for an army, even though it may be two of us, and there's always food that is there. And it's just one of the things that I've taught my children and my grandchildren, because I know that it teaches empathy. It also teaches you to be grateful of what God has been able to provide for you. If you can be grateful, you can also and you can seek out those that are in need and be able to help them as well. So we've been feeding, our Thanksgivings are spent, our days in the afternoons are spent feeding the homeless and in some of the shelters, and but also feeding the homeless from just our home, or cooking, or getting with some other agencies and organizations and feeding them. This is something that I've taught my children, but this is something that I'm also teaching my grandchildren as well. So, but you're right, there's so many innovative ways. Actually, my phone number, I'll put it on I put it in the chat. Definitely, Jackie, call me, because I would love to hear about it. And you should have it. You guys are the future. All of these young minds and innovative thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
We need to get out of there.
I love you. I'm 53 years old. I love you.
Still
Hey,
young at heart, Jacquelyn.
You can be 50, but also being able to think outside the box is rare, but I do. And it's, if it doesn't work, find a way to make it work. You can't wait for the answers to come to you. You have to go out and find those answers. And webpage. And this is my personal cell phone number. This is the one that is going to be ringing on right here, and definitely call me if you have any ideas. I'm here. I want to hear it. I don't know everything. I'll be the first to admit.
None of us do. None of us do.
But I'm always
together,
open to listening.
Together, we're like that bundle of sticks or pens. Try
Absolutely.
to break that bundle. One pen you can snap. The entire bundle, naga. Yes. Not happening.
Yes, I agree.
Love it, Jacquelyn. Let's go to Yenny for another question if we have some time.
I love that name, Yenny.
Hi, it's actually a nickname for Jennifer, so not completely on its own, but I got it through some very funny circumstances. But anyway, I am actually going to be running for city council in Worcester, Massachusetts. The elections in 2021. And I was wondering if you had advice for people like me who are first running, that you've learned from your journey that you would recommend to others. Because I'm sure we'll be having a lot more yang gang starting to run.
Definitely. Don't worry about the naysayers. When I decided to run, and I can tell you this, I was in tears. These were women that had been mentors of mine and I looked up to. And when I told them that I was going to run, they actually told me not to, and I thought, why? Because I'm a woman and this guy, he's a white guy. Does that make him smarter or better than I am? Or, please tell me. And these were Black women. But this is going to happen. And mine was really weird because I signed and I said I was going to do it one day, and I got with my family and we prayed and I kind of hemmed and hawed over it. So I actually started late. I signed up very late in the game. And I realized that you have to be prepared to just say, point me in the right direction. Tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. Be willing to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day because it's worth it. And be committed to who you are. Be committed to the truth, be committed to transparency, and be committed to integrity. And never hesitate to talk to people. Being out there and talking to people, listening to what they're telling you, instead of, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means you listen more than you speak. And just having a conversation with people, and having that ability to, I think linguistic competency is so very, very, very important, because sometimes you're going to speak to people with PhDs, and then sometimes you're going to be speaking with people with barely a 3rd grade education, and you're going to have to be able to have a conversation with them, even though you may not be from, you may not come from, I came from a middle class family. So many people in Fort Myers, even though I grew up here, didn't even know who I was. So believe it or not, I'm an introvert. So it pushes you out of your comfort zone, and be willing to go out past your comfort zone and meet with people, talk with people, and listen to every piece of advice that you can get, and focus on doing the right thing. If you focus on the people, you will not be deterred.
Fantastic. I'm curious what the early steps that you took, what you found was the hardest or most unlike what you were expecting.
What I found is the most difficult is, it depends on the area that you are campaigning in. But in the city of Fort Myers, we have a city that has been forgotten about. They feel as though they have been abused, that they have been, not only abused by the politicians and city government, but also abused and forgotten by law enforcement. We have a high rate of unsolved murders and unsolved crimes. People don't trust law enforcement, and then when they do, there's retaliation from the people who committed the crimes because of the corruption. So it just builds on each other. Um, it depends on, again, it all depends on the area. You have to know your constituents. You have to know the people that you're representing. Never be afraid to get with, to communicate with people that are outside of your culture. I reached out to the Haitian community because I really, and I'm trying to cultivate a relationship with them, but also really build leaders. And I think if you surround yourself with people who can speak from each one of those different cultures, you can be very well-rounded, and you will have a great foundation of people to help you to win the race. And then they are going to be your consultants. Go to different cultures, go to those different areas that, and tell the people, I'm looking for someone who is strong, that are willing to go out there and represent your people. And that's what I did with the Haitian community. That's what I did with the Latinx community, because they really didn't have any true representatives to speak for their community. And I was honest with them. I'm not from the Haitian community. I'm not from the Latinx community. I want you to tell me who can speak for you. And that's showing your sincerity instead of assuming you know what they want. Seek out those people who are willing to step up, and do it now, do it early. I didn't, because I never planned on running for any office. But now that you're doing it and you're able to do it early, seek out those and start cultivating your your support, but cultivating those leaders that can lead with you, beside you.
That's awesome advice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I hope it helps. I know it
Yeah.
did for me.
It's
Yeah.
a fantastic idea of something to focus on, because it's something that can be done even during COVID.
Oh,
So,
yes, definitely. Making those phone calls. And I know one of the things, I mean, there's been vandalism to my signs. My tires have been cut. On my second pair of Michelin tires. So there's this animosity that is out there because of the fact that I'm running. But that doesn't deter me. And I would say I run by faith. I campaign by faith. My faith is very near and dear to me. So I'm close to my pastor, and you're going to need that, and find something to get rid of all of that pent up energy that you may have, because it will get tough. And there will be times where you're not feeling like you're going to, you can't do it another day, but you will. And you need to find an outlet that's going to help you do that. But yeah, just start early and make a plan.
Thanks.
That's fantastic advice for Yenny and for a lot of other people, I'm sure. Colleen, we have a second question from you. Jacquelyn has done.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've identified Fort Myers area as a food desert. I know from my parents coming from the Northeast and having like dietary restrictions. And I say coming from the Northeast because the diets are different in the South. I tend to find in grocery stores, I have like what I call the yogurt index. If you can't find plain yogurt, if everything has sugar added, that's kind of a food desert. That's an indicator. So like my parents order food from Amazon because they can't find, what they would support the stores if they could find what they were, what they needed. So I was, I don't know if it's just they're particularly picky eaters or if you've identified Fort Myers as a food desert and how you might address that.
Actually, I you know, I guess if I live that in that way, but I think all of our needs, I mean, as long as there's a Publix and a Walmart, or a Publix and some of these other stores, but we do have some really healthy stores here, places to shop here. But again, they're on the other side of town because of the fact that they are usually more expensive than, you know, compared to east. In the east side, you have the more lower income, and on the west side, you have the more higher income. So on the west side is more higher income. There, you know, and this has been like that for, unfortunately, for years. It has to be a need, and I think it starts from you know, you're looking at supply and demand as well. You have to have people that are eating healthy and want to eat healthy, and that's really changing the mindset of a lot of people, and that starts at home. It starts at being able to provide that at school, to the children, also to the parents, and especially in a lot of the housing developments here that they're building, nutrition, and teaching people how to eat healthy. You know, you would not be able to tell it by me, but I eat very healthy. You know, now exercise is a different story, but I eat very healthy. So I do go and I will purchase those foods, that certain things that I cannot find locally in the city. I would have to go outside of the city and make that purchase. But that kind of goes back to supply and demand.
Mhm. You know, in Stockton, California, in that pilot study for UBI, the number one expenditure, or I don't know if you call it expenditure, but you know, change in people's spending habits was groceries. Just more produce and eating better was the difference with UBI in
Yes.
in Stockton.
Absolutely. And it's also with some others as well, even in the Magnolia Project, because of the fact that the cheaper foods, of course, is the more processed foods, because it has more additives and everything like that. They're cheaper. People buy cheap because of the fact that they have to make $1 stretch into $1.75. So when they do have that universal basic income, they have more of a solid foundation again. So they can afford to spend on healthier foods and spend that extra 50 cents or extra $1 to be able to do that. So it pays off. It really does. Your spending habits become better. Even your savings habits become better. You know, a lot of people automatically think, and like myself, I'll be the first to admit, I'm thinking, okay, $1,000 a month, people are just going to blow the money. They really don't. They really do not. These are people that need the funds to be able to live a healthier life, to be able to go to sleep at night without stressing over how they're going to pay their bills. So overall, their overall health becomes better. The studies have shown that from this universal basic income. And I know that we can do it here. That was one of the reasons what really was so important to me, because now that they know better, they're able to do better. Now they will do better.
That's a great answer.
Thanks, Jacquelyn. We have
No
one more
problem.
question. One more question from Ed Lee.
Hey,
Take us
okay.
home, brother.
All right.
Come
Cool,
on,
cool.
Ed. I have
Thank you,
10% left.
All right, cool. Just want to say one thing quick for okay. I just want to respond to Yenny. Now, the thing is that you asked about becoming a leader. The thing is that you got to know that there's a lot of people who are going to be, it's like being a physician for the community. You got to take care of all the parts, the head and the heart. And sometimes those things will want different things, and that's okay. But you can't stop listening to any part of it. You get what I mean? Now, the thing is that honestly, right, there's a lot of skepticism from the poor people. We know when you're half-assing it. You got to really listen to their problems, and you got to be relentless. The thing is that you can never, right? Just as a physician, if you don't pay attention to a symptom, people will suffer for real. You must be relentless about, you cannot say I'm too busy for that or I'm tired. Yeah, you must, you know, that's how much you have. That's what this is for. This is your responsibility in this. People's lives will be changed by the things you do here. So give it that proper way and read some books about people who've had that responsibility and how they handled it. Because later on, you might do something and 1,000 people might have gotten hurt and be like, damn, well, I wish I was more prepared. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Okay, so boom. My question is this. Look, I'm kind of like hurt, about what happened in the 2020 campaign to Andrew Yang. He didn't get a fair speaking time in the debates. I would like to get, how like those stadiums have blackouts locally, right? You can't show like a football game if they don't if they don't fill the stadium. Why can't we put in place, right? If they say if debates do not give equal speaking time to the candidates, then we're not going to air it locally. Can you help me get this passed? In your local, I love local community. You're right. Local issues. Let's pass this locally around the nation. Can you help me with this?
I would be happy to.
Hell
If we have
yeah. Thank you.
If we have the ability,
Hell
but
yeah.
this is one of the things that I realize, and this is just through life, with what I've been through, and this is what I truly believe in. Someone, God never, ever, nothing is going to happen if it's not your time. When it is your time, it is your time. And I truly believe that where Andrew is right now is where he needed to be, because he needs to push this forward. Because just think about it. If he had become president, I wonder how much of a Yang game there would have
I'm
been.
pushing.
So
100%.
continue to push forward. This is what we need to push this forward and start spoon feeding, because sometimes you can't, no one can eat a cake all at one time. You have to eat it a little bit at a time to really find out whether you like it or not. And I'm not going to, like I said, I'm very honest. When I thought about it and I heard about it, I'm like, $1,000 a month. Oh my God, that's not going to work. Where are you going to get the funds? What this? Some people do not read as much as we do. And I'm putting myself, I'm being very gracious. I'm just scooting myself in there with you guys. And I know you've read, you live and breathe this. And, but I read it. Some people don't take the time. Sometimes it takes one of you or myself to be able to spoon feed it to them, to digest it. And then once they digest it, they're all in. And that's what the type of people that we need to get this whole movement with the Yang Gang going, with this universal basic income going. Because I will tell you, even the most intelligent people, when I've mentioned this to them, their eyes got totally crossed and kind of figured, they thought I had two heads, and is really spoon feeding this to people to the point where now we understand it, because once it is in the ground and it is solidly rooted, it is going to blossom. And we're not just going to have pilot programs. We're going to have entire cities, entire states on this, our entire nation. It's just something new. People need to get used to it, but it's a great idea. And once they start, it's like a locomotive. Once it starts going, you can't stop it. And that's what I see happening with Andrew. And I can't wait. We have to do everything we can to make this happen. And that's what this game is here for.
We're so glad that you match your, large brain with the large heart. That's what we're all about. So we're glad to have you in our movement, and look forward to working with you for a long time to come. Could you let everyone know? Oh, awesome. And could you let everyone know how to get involved in your campaign from here till Tuesday?
Sure. I am going to give you my website. It's www.mcmillerformayor.com. And just please go in there. And as I said, we need phone bankers, we need texters. We have a list of that we can send to you to just start texting and encouraging everyone to vote on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to it. I've been working so hard, and and you guys just meeting and being a part of this has been absolutely incredible. And yes, you can also donate, but that's a little bit too late right now. But in a year and a half, I'll be running again. So right after this election, I'm going to be right back into campaign mode, because I'll be running in 2022 as well. So I'm just finishing the term out from our previous mayor. But right now, I want to get this team together. I want to be on the same accord like we are together to push forward, at least from my Fort Myers standpoint, the city of Fort Myers, that we can push forward and get this universal basic income set forth and on the plan to make it happen here. So you won't be hearing the last from me. Everyone, you have my phone number, just call me. We need to exchange phone numbers so I can reach out to you and, you know, bounce some ideas off of your head. Jackie, all of you guys, please, please, please never hesitate to give me a call. Okay? You promise?
I promise, Jacquelyn. We're going to help you get over that finish line.
Yes. I cannot do this alone, and we can do it together, but not just within the city. If it works here, anything that I can share to make it happen somewhere else.
If that wasn't just me, I think her battery might have ran out.
Yeah, it might have.
Anyone want to finish her thought there? Other than me? I think it was something like, if we can prove that it happens here in Fort Myers, we can do it in cities and states across the country. So
if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere and everywhere.
You're always better at this than me, Angelo. Well, that's Sunday Night Live, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And please head on over to Jacquelyn's website to get connected to her campaign. And let's sprint to the end, my friends. We're going to turn this into a hang right now. Guys, we'll see you later. Big day's coming.
Goodbye, folks who are on Facebook and YouTube.